dear students, and welcome back. Let's continue with the chapter that you people had been watching in the past videos. That is, we are not afraid to die if we can all be together. I hope that you people have checked out the PDF in which I have given you the portion for the forthcoming examination. That's the pre-midterm examination, and in that, the first chapter and this second chapter of your hornbill is included. Let's not waste the time and move forward with a quick recall of what we have studied in the previous videos and then getting along with the rest of the part of the chapter. In this chapter, we people have seen that a family which comprises of a 37-year-old businessman, his wife Mary, and his son Jonathan and daughter Suzanne plans to duplicate the journey which was made some 200 years ago by a famous explorer named Captain James Cook. And for this, they had been practicing a lot and they had been trying to bring perfection to their seafaring skills. They had got a boat named Wavewalker, which was 23-meter long and a 30-ton hull, a wooden hulled beauty, and it has been professionally built up. Means by skilled people it was made, and then had been tested in the roughest weather. And then we saw that the first part of their journey till Cape Town, means they started their journey in 1976 from Plymouth, and they reached till Cape Town very safely, and it was a very smooth journey. Their entire journey was of around 3 years, 1,05,000 kilometers, and then the first part went off very smoothly, and now they were going to enter into the roughest sea, that is the Indian Ocean, the southern Indian Ocean. And basically this ocean is considered to be very moody in nature, and that's why they hired two people, Larry and Herb, and then they set out on the journey. He says, the narrator, he says that on the very second day they started encountering strong wind, and the waves were of such heights that it seemed very deadly and frightful. And then they celebrated Christmas with the Christmas tree, hoping that the new year is going to bring good news for them. But it turned other way around, and the new year brought a lot of worsened up situation. And on the dawn of January 2, the waves became even more gigantic, and what they did was that they were sailing with a small storm jib, and they found that the boat was racing up with every wave, and they could see in front of them only big vast open sea, and nothing else, which was even more frightful. And the strong wind and water splashing was even more treacherous and painful for the ears as well. And then they thought of taking some decisions regarding how to safeguard themselves. And because of that reason, what they did was that they just double lashed everything that they had. And when they did so, after that they found that the basic disastrous things started approaching them at around 6 p.m. on the very same January 2nd. And wind dropped, and the sky became dark in color, like as if though it was just going to rain heavily, like how it happens generally. But then the narrator found that it was not the sky which has turned dark, but it was actually a big wave which was right over the top of the boat, which he had never ever seen in his life. And then that wave seemed to be very dangerous, with its tip uh, like a blade ready to cut anything that comes in the way. And then the roar turned into thunder, the stern of the ship moved up. My dear students, I have explained each and every word that I'm using over here for the feedback, so please pay attention. Once again, I'm going very slow so that you can catch up with what we have studied in the previous videos. And in this, we have seen that on that very evening, it was very silent, like the silence before something deadly going to happen. And then suddenly the deck of the ship felt a big explosion, and the narrator went overboard into the ocean, and he felt that his death is right there in front of him, and he accepted it very peacefully. But then unexpectedly a big wave came, and it brought his head out. His head popped out, and he found that the wave walker was sinking right in front of his eyes. It was going straight horizontally down into the water, like how Titanic movie you might have seen. The same way it was sinking down, and then miraculously a big wave came and it pushed the wave walker, and the wave walker was horizontal to the level of the water. And because of that reason, the life jacket which he was wearing, the string of it got tight, and he got pulled, and he went again flying over onto the board. And there he was just like a rag doll being thrown from one end to the other end. And because of that reason, he had broken left ribs, mouth filled with blood, and broken teeth. But still he gathered all his courage, and he took up the stern so that he could just catch up with the wave walker to the next wave. And then it was all water everywhere. He knew it very well that the boat was full of water, but he could not leave the wheel. At that time his wife appeared there, informing him about the boat being filled with water. The poor lady don't know anything about what happened with her husband. And then he asked her to take the charge of the wheel, and he went to do the inspection. When he went there, he found that Larry and Herb, the two crewmen, you remember, they were pumping the water out of the ship like mad people. And then everywhere water was there, and in the water crockery and all those things were floating. And the side board, means the side part of the ship, was bulged inside because of the force with which water has hit it. And then he went to the children's cabin, and he found that the children were sitting down on the upper bunk. They were okay, but the fact was that Sue was having a bump on her head. But that moment he was not having the time to see all those things, and he just somehow found out a hammer, some screws, and some canvas, and he wanted to close the place from where the water was going on coming. And he spread that waterproof hatch over it, and then he screwed up that. And now the water was still coming and hitting the hatch, but still it was just falling back. Deflecting means hitting and falling back into the ocean, so less amount of water was coming inside. Then the next problem was waiting for them, that was hand pumps not working. Electric pumps already short circuited. And when he went down, he found that even more worse was there. The main anchor, the dinghies, everything has been thrown out overboard, means it has been thrown into the water because of the wobbling of the ship. Then he suddenly remembered that in under the chart room floor there is one electric pump, and he found by God's grace it was working. And then he connected it to a out pipe, and the water started moving out. And then the whole night had been only endless pumping of water and very cold. And they had been trying the radio, making the mayday calls, trying to inform somewhere about the problem in which they were, but there was no use, because he knew it that in such weather it was next to zero for anyone to approach them. And then by now Sue's head was swollen up like anything, and she was having a black eye, just like the boxers being knocked down in a arena, and then she even had a deep cut on her arm. When inquired why she did not inform about her injuries, she very nicely, maturely, she said that she didn't want to worry when her father was trying to save everyone's life. This is what we have done in the previous videos about January 2. My dear students, I have said that keep in mind about the dates. Now let us speak about January 3. By morning on January 3, the pumps had the water level sufficiently under control for us to take 2 hours rest in rotation. But we still had a tremendous leak somewhere below the waterline, and on checking, I found that nearly all the boat's main rib frames were smashed down to the keel. In fact, there was nothing holding up a whole section of the starboard hull except a few cupboard partitions. Okay, January 3 morning. The pumps that they had been using, it has brought the water level quite in control, so that each one of them turn by turn could take 2 hours rest. Whole night they never slept. They had been doing pumping of water and looking after the wheel, the mayday calls, and now morning of January 3, enough water was taken out and they could take at least 2 hours rest turn by turn. But still there was leakage somewhere very below on where the water line was, and when he went to check, he found that the boat main rib frames, means if you have ever seen a boat being made, you will see that generally the wooden frames are used, and then on top of that the cardboards are put, and then the boat is actually prepared. So here basically when he went down, he found that it was like keel means in Hindi we say na chitade jaise, means pieces of wood was hanging here and there, where the main frame was full main frame. It was not at all in visibility, only parts of it here and there could be seen. And it was like one part of the starboard, one part of that boat, it was just having a few cupboards hanging to it, otherwise nothing was there, so water was just flowing in. We had survived for 15 hours since the wave hit, but Wave Walker wouldn't hold together long enough for us to reach Australia. I checked our charts and calculated that there were two small islands a few hundred kilometers to the east. One of them, Isle Amsterdam, was a French scientific base. Our only hope was to reach these pinpricks in the vast ocean. But unless the wind and seas abated so we could hoist sail, our chances would be slim indeed. The great wave had put our auxiliary engine out of action. I already told you, sea voyages, basically every journey is very dangerous, but sea voyages in the middle of the ocean with nothing. Now you might think that it might be there in your mind that even while we go by flight also, it is the same condition. We are in the mid-air, somewhere thousands and thousands of height up, kilometers up. So because of that reason, I said journeys are generally dangerous. But here we people are focusing on a sea voyage, and here it has been said that they have survived, and it was around some 15 hours have passed. Means on January 2nd, 6 p.m. it has hit them, and now it is January 3rd morning he is talking about. So 15 hours have passed. So 15 hours past means somewhere around 9 o'clock or something of January 3 he is talking about, that the wave had hit them at January 2nd at 6 p.m. and now second day morning, so 15 hours passed, and Wave Walker was not in a condition that it could take them to their very next destination, that is Australia. He found out, then what he did was that he has to look out for another option, so he just went to his chart room. There he made the calculations to check out which might be the next nearest destination where they can halt on, and then they found that two small islands were there, some few hundred kilometers to the east. One of them was Isle Amsterdam. Isle means island, okay. Isle Amsterdam, it was a French scientific base, means the French people, they do studies and researches in that area, and that was the only hope for them. Isle Amsterdam, it was like pinpricks in the vast ocean. Now if I'll ask you to search out a needle from a heap of hay, you just imagine, is it going to be an easy task? चलिए हिंदी में बोलती हूँ। अगर मैं आपको भूसे के ढेर में से एक सुई खोज के निकालने बोलूँ तो क्या वो आसान होगा? नो, इट्स रियली अ टफ थिंग। एंड हियर they were in a vast ocean, and in that vast ocean they have to search an island, and that too in that weather. It was really a difficult thing, but that was the only hope for them. But this hope can also survive only and only if the wind and the sea both are calm, abated, so calm that they can hoist the sail. If they can't hoist the sail, how the uh, boat or the ship will move forward? So, the chances, if they cannot hoist the sail, the chances would be very slim. Slim means next to negligible. And then already the waves have hit their auxiliary engine and they were out of action. Now, coming to January 4th. On January 4th, after 36 hours of continuous pumping, we reached the last few centimeters of water. Now we had only to keep pace with the water still coming in. We could not set any sail on the mainmast. Pressure on the rigging would simply pull the damaged section of the hull apart. So we hoisted the strong jib and headed for where I thought the two islands were. Mary found some corned beef and cracker biscuits, and we ate our first meal in almost 2 days. January 2, 6 pm, the wave hit down. Now we are talking about January 4. Somewhere around 36 hours they had been continuously pumping, and now only a few centimeters water was left out over there in the ship. So they were able to keep pace with the water, means whatever water was coming in they were able to throw it outside. There was very minimum chances of collection, too much of accumulation of water inside the boat. But still they cannot set the main mast, means the main pole in which they cannot put the sail, because if pressure comes on that, full chances was that the hull was, means the section was already damaged. So you just imagine if the air or the wind puts too much of pressure, with that pressure and the force, that pole will pull out everything that is left out. So because of that reason they could not set the main mast, the main sail. With the strong jib only, they hoisted it and they started moving towards that direction where they thought the islands, both of the islands, might be. And meanwhile, Mary, from the floating things and all, she just found out some corned beef and cracker biscuits, means some eatables. And after complete 2 days, means after 2 days they had their meal, means they had something to eat. But our respite was short lived. At 4 pm, black clouds began building up behind us. Within the hour of wind was back to 40 knots and the seas were getting higher. The weather continued to deteriorate throughout the night, and by dawn on January 5, our situation was again desperate. But our respite, their happiness, their hope was short lived, was for only a little time. Because on January 4th itself, 4 o'clock in the evening, again the black cloud started building up behind them, and the wind started blowing with 40 kilometers per hour speed, and the sea were getting higher, means the waves became again gigantic. The weather, it did not act positively for them. It started deteriorating, means it started becoming worse and worse. And the entire night of January 4th passed by, and by the morning dawn of January 5, he says that the situation was totally desperate, was totally beyond control. It's very pathetic. When I went to comfort the children, John asked, "Daddy, are we going to die?" I tried to assure him that we could make it. But Daddy, he went on, we aren't afraid of dying if we can all be together. You and Mummy, Sue and I. My dear students, this is what the life teaches us. The situation makes a person mature. Jonathan, John, was a just 6-year-old child. What do you expect from a 6-year-old child? Naughtiness, innocence, childishness. That's what you expect from a child of 6. But here, when he went to comfort the children, because condition and the weather was not favorable at all, at that time, Jonathan, he asked his father, Daddy, are we going to die? Now you just imagine what a father will answer to such kind of a question. When a child of his asks him that are we going to die, then he tried what was expected. Like how generally parents they do, they try to give assurance that no beta, it's not like that. But instead, Jonathan, what he said, he said, Daddy, don't worry, we aren't afraid to die till we all are together. We are all together. You and Mummy, me and Sue. See the understanding of the child. He was not a 6-year-old child to sit down there to wail or to cry or to shout out of fear. Instead, he said, we are not afraid to die if we can all be together. That's the understanding, that's the maturity, that's the bond which he showed at that particular moment when his father was totally devastated. I could find no words with which to respond, but I left the children's cabin, determined to fight the sea with everything I had. To protect the weakened starboard side, I decided to heave to, with the undamaged port full hull facing the oncoming waves, using an improvised sea anchor of heavy nylon rope and 2 22-liter plastic barrels of paraffin. Okay, he left the children's cabin, but he seems to be very determined that whatever may happen, he will try to save his family. He will be a good captain. And then what to do, thinking that he thought that why not protect the starboard side which has gone very weak, and this he could do only with the undamaged part facing all the waves. You understood? The good part has to face all the waves so that the broken part of the wave walker will have to suffer less. For this he has to prepare a temporary anchor. You remember I told you when he went and checked out, he found that the main anchor has fallen into the ocean, and because of that reason he has to prepare a sea anchor, a temporary one. How he prepared? He prepared it with the help of 2 22 liters plastic barrels of paraffin. Paraffin you all might be knowing. So some 22 liters barrels, drums were lying down there, and he used those 2 drums, 22 liters each, and a nylon rope to prepare the temporary anchor. That evening, Mary and I sat together holding hands as the motion of the ship brought more and more water in through the broken planks. We both felt the end was very near. That evening, January 5th, my dear students, he and his wife sat down together holding each other's hand, because they knew that with every motion of the ship, with every wobble that the ship was facing, it was taking in a lot and lot of water. And coming in of water means sinking of the boat, and sinking of the boat means end of their life. Theirs, their children, the crewmen, the entire wave walker. And because of that reason, they both sadly sat down there thinking over it. Now, I would like to bring an end to the video for the time being. Meanwhile, you people just be prepared to see the last video of this, in which we will find out that actually whether the wave walker capsized and it was the end of the journey of this entire family, or what happened on January 6th. Till then, goodbye, take care.